Time. Welcome to the reading vlog for my most anticipated book of the year. We have Brimstone by Callie Hart. Like many people on the internet, my favorite book out of every single book that I read last year was none other than Quicksilver, and we are officially on release day for book 2. I am doing happy little dances in my head that I'm trying to really contain myself because I'm wearing noisy clothing. But happy dances, I'm so excited. So I do have a couple of plans for today. Specifically, I did already acquire my Target exclusive edition of Brimstone, but I would like the regular deluxe edition. I went into Second and Charles and they didn't have anything, so I might have to go to Barnes, which, you know, darn the luck, I have to go to Barnes & Noble. I also desperately need caffeine. I am currently putting on a very excited front, but I need caffeine. There's a really cute coffee shop across town from where I live that I just don't go to very often that is so cute, and they have really good cold brew, so we're gonna go get some cold brew. We also have a vet appointment tonight, so some things are happening, which is actually really good because I decided to go ahead and do a Quicksilver reread before I got into Brimstone. I'm currently about 5 chapters into Quicksilver, and you guessed it, I'm having a good time. It's just striking me this time around how perfect structurally Quicksilver really is. I definitely remember a lot more of it than I think that I did, so I might end up stopping rereading and just skipping on over to Brimstone because I need it. But it's really interesting how we start off the beginning with such a big bang. Like, things are just happening. We are in peril and we need to know what's going on. And we are dropped in and things are moving around really quickly. So if you're someone who is in a book slump, if you're just having a hard time starting books but you want to read something like incredible, I would definitely recommend Quicksilver because it definitely gets you in really quickly and it gets your attention really quickly, but then the world just expands and it just takes a different turn from where we started at the beginning of the book. It is so incredible. So I'm currently at the beginning, and if you don't know what Quicksilver is about at this point, you need to go read it, I beg of you. However, a quick little synopsis is that our female main character, Saris, she is a girl in a world who is actually in a very interesting world, being that her city is kind of shaped like a wheel. It's divided off into sections, and she's from a section that is really not well off. Not only are they poor, but the city basically rations their water, and they get like, 5 ounces of water a day. It's ridiculous. And so naturally, no one can survive off of that. So everyone's stealing, they're thieving, they're just trying to survive. And there we meet Saris, and she gets into a little bit of an incident with one of the queen's guard. So then she is forced to go on the run from the queen. Kind of a big deal, right? And the tension from that scene is very quickly kind of sort of addressed, resolved, whatever you want to call it. And then we get starting into little seeds of this really big world. And I'm just so excited. So I've been listening to the audiobook. The audiobook is absolutely incredible. And I knew it was going to be good because Anthony Palmini's name was stamped on it. And that's all I need to know. But can confirm, especially on a reread, I feel like reading this kind of a book is so good with your eyeballs the first time around. And then reading it with the audiobook, it just makes it gives you a different experience. Like while you are rereading it, you are getting a different experience. So I'm having a really excellent, fabulous, fantastic time with it so far. Anthony Palmini is hot. I forget her name, but the female narrator is also doing really well at this point, and I'm feeling alive. So let's run some errands, let's listen to an audiobook, and then let's read Brimstone. I'm so giggly. I managed to finish Quicksilver the day of the Brimstone release, and after finishing that book. The amount of holy cow, this is objectively a 5 stars that just washed over me. It was insane. This is objectively a really good book, and I think for most people it is a perfect book. I would say it was kind of perfect for me. Rereading it again just reminded me of not only how freaking good book 1 is, how good the audiobook is, how excited for Brimstone I was, and just like created a lot of fervor and just like need to read Brimstone. Unfortunately, it is currently December 6th, and you might be wondering, wow, December 6th, Brimstone came out at the end of November. You probably have some pretty good reading progress to give us, right? No. I think I got so, and I had been really excited about this release and was so excited about this release. I think rereading Quicksilver and not just finishing at the end of the day so that way I didn't immediately start Brimstone got me into a really, I'm so intimidated, and less that I'm intimidated and more so just that I needed to read this book and I needed it to be perfect, and I put a lot of these expectations because Quicksilver is so freaking good. Brimstone is here in my hands. I was really trying to read this book physically. I feel as if my 6-star books, they're typically things that I really prefer to read physically. However, I have not been in a physical reading mood necessarily. I didn't have a copy of this on my Kindle, and then I also just needed an audiobook, but I was resisting within everything that I had to just pick up the audiobook for a couple reasons. Number one, I love Anthony Palmini, and I wanted to use my eyeballs to read this like most anticipated book, like the most anticipated book of the year, right? I did, however, get the audiobook, and then I let a friend borrow it, and so I was trying to let her finish it, and then I was like, it'll be fun, and then I just ended up very, very, very slowly reading the beginning of this book. I read to about page 60 in the course of like a week. So I now have the audiobook, and I feel kind of dumb for not just picking up the audiobook sooner. I also just haven't been necessarily the biggest reading mood. I think because I have been kicking off pre-filming, editing a whole bunch of BOOKMAS stuff, and I also just have been having Thanksgiving, all the holiday things, and I actually watched a reel the other day that was like, we here in the reader space place obviously a lot of priority on reading. However, there are times in which reading is not necessarily the priority, and times when that happens, it's kind of hard for us to recognize, hey, I'm spending a lot of time with my family and friends, and that is so good. That comes at the cost of not reading as much, and we are so hard on ourselves for not reading as much when in reality it just was a lower priority, and the things that we had higher priority on was just better for us, and it was what we needed in the time, and it also was just, freaking necessary. So I do think there is something to be said for during the holidays, or really any time of year, if you feel like you are just like struggling to read, sometimes it's just because there are other things going on and reading just doesn't have to be the priority, and it's not that time, and that is completely okay. So if you feel like you are just like doing all the holiday things and you've not read a thing, don't be hard on yourself. I know it's easy to be hard on yourself because we're getting close to the end of the year. It's time to finish up the last of the books that I wanted to read this year. I need to get to my Goodreads goal. I need to do this, that, the other. I need to find my best book of the year still. I need to keep okay, girl. It's Christmas, it's holiday, whatever holiday you celebrate. Reading's always going to be there. Like Brimstone, I own a copy of it. It's not going anywhere. I can read it whenever the heck I want to. Okay. So that was definitely encouraging, but I think I also was just like not in a reading mood, but we're back. So that being said, we're back. I have started to pick up the audiobook here and there, and I will definitely be continuing to listen to the audiobook because I'm just like not in an eyeball reading mood. And I think it's because I just want to listen to Anthony Palmini. Okay. And I think that's how I'm going to choose to approach the rest of this book. So I'm currently on chapter 8. I have some thoughts. I can't decide if it was because all of the previously mentioned, I'm just like not necessarily struggling to read, but it's just like it's not clicking in my head. Physically reading is just like, it's just dragging. Doesn't feel right. And I don't know if I can really put that vibe onto the beginning of this book. This is not going like the best for me so far. We've not really gotten into a lot of the things that I'm so excited about for this book. The beginning starts off in Kingfisher's POV, which unless you read the bonus chapters, this is the first time that we've had his POV. When I finished listening to Quicksilver, Audible automatically played Kingfisher's POV, that whole bonus chapter book technically. So I did listen to that, and I was in his POV. So this isn't necessarily the first time that I was in his POV, but for some reason, reading it, I was just like, there was some sort of dissonance in between me and the book. And I think it was, again, because I just wasn't in a physically reading mood, but that was happening. And then as we get into the book, I think something that I'm probably going to struggle with is that when couples get together, we lose some of that tension given that their relationship status is happy and good, okay? We have to have something to come in and interrupt that status, whether it is the couples themselves, whether it is something to do with the plot. It could be a million factors, but we need something to drive that tension. And if it's not, romantic strife, it's got to be something else. So far, we are really just building up this world again. We had a lot of events happen at the end of Quicksilver that kind of broke apart what we knew, and now we're having to reset up things. So I feel like we have done like 8 chapters of setup, and I'm still just kind of like, where does this fit? Where does this fit into a greater plot line? I just don't know where we're going. I don't know what place this book has in the storyline. I don't know what the storyline is. So I'm definitely needing to continue on in this book. I do still think that this could go really, really well for me, but it's just at this current point, I'm kind of like, we're reading a book. Yay. So this is yet again another reminder to me. I feel like I really, really, really learned this from reading House of Flame and Shadow. With my anticipated releases, if I pick a book that I say is going to be my #1 anticipated release, okay, that book automatically gets put on this ginormous pedestal. And then I create these expectations in my brain about how it's going to go. And regardless of how many theories, regardless of how many really is the theories with House of Flame and Shadows, if I'm being realistic here, you're not the author. You don't know how it's gonna go. You can't create an expectation for your brain. You can't be like, oh, well, Quicksilver was my 5-star, so Brimstone's gonna be my 5-star. House of Earth and Blood was my absolute all-time 6-star favorite book. Yeah, House of Flame and Shadow is going to do well, because we all know that wasn't a thing. So there's definitely some lesson learning that I have already learned, and I'm continue apparently to learn, that anticipated releases, I need to just chill the freak down, and I really do try to, but there is still something in my brain that sets it up on a pedestal, and now I just, I get intimidated, and something that I really need to focus on in 2026, and if you have any recommendations on how to do it, I've got some theories, and I don't know how exactly that's going to work out, but I have been noticing there's so many books on my TBR and in general that I just get really intimidated by, and I need to figure out a way to just break that intimidation, break the tension, okay? Any sense, it's currently a fine, beautiful Saturday morning. I have a little bit more of Red City that I need to finish, but I need to go in and clean the house, so some audiobook listening time will be had. So I think I'm gonna hopefully make some really good progress in this today, and potentially, I would really like to finish it tomorrow. I feel like I just don't read as much during the work week, and if I can get this done on a weekend, I feel like binging this book is going to be a lot better success for me. But also, based on Kingfisher bonus POV chapters, I know I'll let you know if I think that you really needed to read that or not. I'm thinking probably no, but I know there's been a lot of conversation about that recently. But based on those chapters, I'm getting really excited for things that I think might happen. So I love it here. I'm so excited. Okay, I have made it to chapter 30. I have now switched over to the audiobook. I should have done that like 87 years ago. I don't know what the resistance was what was the friction with the friction. I am enjoying this so much more. I already know that this isn't going to be a 5-star, unfortunately, which does, make me a little sad, but I am definitely enjoying what's happening here. The plot, I feel as if the entire time we've just been kind of meandering a little bit, which is fine in a sense because I do really like all these characters. I like the world that we're in. The setting is really interesting, but we've not really I don't know. I still haven't been able to conceptualize where this book is in the series. Like what are we doing here? What is the plot? I'm just needing plot. I'm now just over, technically, I guess if you look at it this way, I'm just over halfway. We are starting to get into some of the conflict of this book, and we're starting to put this back into the context of plot. I'm like, okay, no. So I feel like we're getting there. I do, however, am at a point where I am needing, I need to know what's going on, which finally, I feel like up until this point, I was just kind of like, whatever. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. I think that we have started to get some little kernels of where this plot is going to go. We've had some really big moments. I think that's another thing I was missing. Obviously, at the beginning of the book, you're not going to get any big character moments. I've been with these characters for a lot of pages. I need them to be, not that I need them to be cool. That's not really the word I'm looking for. I need them to have moments that remind me why these characters are so cool in the first place. Like, I just need this to be epic. I need it to be more. I need it to really grab my attention, because as of right now, like up until this point, up until the part that I literally just left off at, I was just kind of like, okay. The tension that we had in book one, there was so much tension, not only from obviously the romance in it, but the plot. Like, we knew what the struggle was, we knew the goal that we had to accomplish, and so far there's not really been much tension. We've just been kind of like, who are we, who am I, what does it all mean? And we've not like done anything, but I feel as if we're finally starting to go somewhere, and I'm enjoying that. Okay, 2 updates for you. Number 1, I'm trying out the Flutter Habit lashes. These are the Sweetheart Brown style. I feel as if I need to trim them and put them significantly further outside, because I feel like my eyeballs are just like cut off on the inside at the moment. However, the second update that I have for you, and arguably the much more important update for you, is that I have now finished Brimstone, which is a crazy sentence to say given that this book took me practically 2 weeks to read. Okay. I think the best way that I can describe my thoughts and feelings about this book is to compare it to another book. And if you have read this other book, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I don't know if you heard about this. This little series called the Empyrean series, in which 4th Wing book 1, we all freaking loved it. Iron Flame came out and we were like, no. What do you mean? I feel like I liked Iron Flame a little bit more the first time around than most people did. But whenever I went back and reread it, I was like, wait a minute. This just hit so much better on a reread. And then we get into Onyx Storm and we're all back in the series, right? I think this series is also suffering from a little bit of second book syndrome. The main issues that I had with this book were that the beginning and the middle, I personally was not feeling a sense of urgency. I didn't have any context for the placement of this book in a greater series. I just didn't know what was going on. I didn't know what we were supposed to be doing. We had a couple goals, but none of these goals just felt like the goal, you know? Like, I didn't really understand what was going on. And I also wasn't really connecting to the characters, which was really weird given that I had just reread Quicksilver and I was absolutely down bad for Quicksilver. Like, I love Quicksilver, Kingfisher, Sayrus, my guys. I had such a good time with rereading Quicksilver. I don't reread books very often. I gave my reread, someone who really never finishes rereads, I gave it 5 stars, and I love those characters, love the book. And then we get into this book, and I just didn't have that same, you would think that that experience would just transfer over into these characters again, and it didn't. So I don't know what that was about. However, I think the majority of it was that I went on a road trip, and then we had Thanksgiving, and then I prepped for BOOKMAS, and then I started for BOOKMAS, and then all of a sudden 2 weeks later, and here we are. I think that I just really did not pick this book up at the right time. However, we got to about 3/4 of the way through, and I was really starting to get very nervous that I was going to get this book lower than a 3-star. Which is absolutely criminal, given that Quicksilver is so good to me. I couldn't fathom giving the sequel to Quicksilver below a 3-star. Like, that just wasn't in my universe. It wasn't in my realm. I think because I started to get myself a little scared, a little psyched out because I wasn't connecting with it. And then we had this emotional moment. And this emotional moment, instead of being sad in the moment, my thoughts were, why are we doing this? Like, do we really have to go there? Do we really have to write? Like, why? Okay, that was an interesting choice to make here. And I think that all goes back to, yet again, me just being in a different mood to read this. I don't think that this book was bad by any means. But we also get a piece of character development towards the end. Not the end, but a little bit before the end. And these characters all of a sudden just snapped into place with this new thing. We didn't actually... I, as the reader, didn't really have a chance to adjust to this thing that we were all of a sudden really in, and we were full send committing to the bit. I needed more exposure to the bit before I could commit, but apparently they didn't, and I just wasn't catching up, and that was a little weird. There were quite a few moments throughout this whole book that I did really enjoy, but I wanted to highlight the complaints here. I really figured that I was going to absolutely love this book, and if not love it, at least like it. So we're talking about the things that detracted from that as opposed to the things that made me like it. I feel like sequels have a little bit of a different context in my brain for how I describe them. However, okay, all that being said, I was getting a little nervous, and then we got to the end, and I was like, what? I had to go back and reread the last page physically, and I was so thrown off. There is a part of me that wonders, had we foreshadowed these events a little bit more heavy-handed, like there were teeny tiny little things, but only the teeniest of tiniest. Like if we had done that a little bit more heavy-handed, would there have been more urgency in the beginning and the middle of this book? Would there have been something that I was really working towards a little bit more clearly? Would that have helped with the direction of this book? Part of me thinks that, but then the bigger part of me, because you had literally no context for what was about to happen, it hit so hard, and it is making me so freaking excited for book 3. Like, I understand what people mean when they say the wait for book 3 has begun, because it has truly. It's truly begun. I do also, all of the complaints aside, I do feel as if I really had to work for that ending, and part of why it hit so hard was because it was so out of left field. I'd been really working towards it. I'd felt it. And I want to make it clear here, I don't think that this is the kind of book where the beginning and the middle were just terrible, and then all of a sudden the ending just made up for it. Like, I don't think you can have a crazy ending to make up for the majority of the book not being good. I don't think that is that in this case. Like, I do definitely feel like the reward that I got was worth it, and the building that we got up to it made the ending of it so much better. So there's this really kind of like conflicting points in my brain. There were so many moments where I was like, wait, that was fun. This is fun. I love it here. And then I would be like, wait, where are we? I don't feel as connected to these characters. But then we go back to these really fun moments of like, oh my goodness, I'm in this book. I'm in this world. This world is so freaking cool. Alchemy is so cool. We got so many really cool facts about alchemy that I think we're just, they're so interesting. I think that the way that we're choosing to do the world system and the magic system in this book is just very, it's entertaining. It's unique. It's not something that is just an everyday fantasy romance at the moment. So I think that we had these really high points, and then I had these like weird, I wouldn't really call them low points, but confusion points we can call them. So I think that overall, I'm going to give this book a 3.5 star. I can't give it a full 4 star, given that there were points that I was kind of like, and you know, the mood that I was in definitely detracted from this book. However, I do think that I did have some really fun moments with this book. The ending's crazy town. I think that this book is really going to do some major things for the series as we progress into the rest of this world. Like, I can't believe. I also do think Kingfisher POV, I'm always glad when I read things and I get extra context. I don't think you have to. They do definitely recap some of the events that happen in the POV, but you're in Kingfisher's POV for those events instead of just getting the recap. So it kind of just depends on how you are, how you like to read your books. I was glad that I read it, but you definitely don't have to. However, overall, I had an absolute crazy time with this book. There were some highs, there were some lows, and then there were some highs, and then there were some holy crap, what are we doing? And then there were some lows, and then there were some wait, we're up here again. So I think this is definitely a lesson to me in that when my most highly anticipated release of the year comes out, that does not mean that I have to drop everything and read it right then. I can wait. It's okay to wait. It is, I'm going to hold my own hand when I say this. Hopefully you'll hold mine as well, because I could use all the peer pressure I can get. It's okay to wait. It's okay to not pick up a book immediately, because hey, guess what? The beauty of books is that they will always be there. It is recorded words on pages that will be there whenever we are ready for them. So if you have made it to the end of this video and wanted to let me know that you were here, go ahead and leave a flaming heart emoji, because I feel like that really well describes the overall vibe of Brimstone. Just leave a comment down below. What is your release day routine? Are you a crazy person like me and you take a day off? Or are you normal? Do you make an evening of it to go pick up your new release? Or do you pre-order and it's just magically delivered to your house? Because that was also quite nice. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for future videos. But anyways, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you have a great rest of your day or night wherever you are, and I will catch you in the next BOOKMAS video.